Let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Merely Bo, the great Z. This is why you need Sundays. This is why. We had a day on Monday. Perfect, baby.
We all should have been off on Monday.
We should have taken it. You got your Sunday pass. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be in today, sir. Why is that? Well, because I'm going to use one of my 5 Sundays, and I'm going to stay home. And then you can switch it for a day like this.
We're in Ohio, and the sun's shining. And
that's why.
Early March. That's why.
That's why
we're going to be.
And so we take it. I was walking around the yard this morning.
It's a great start to a story.
It was. Looking for the Buddy droppings, as it were. So in the old days, I would walk him morning and night, and he would do his droppings. The droppings are so formidable now. I mean, it's like a human situation is what we're looking at.
He's a big dog.
He's a big boy. So
he's not a little Asa.
No, it's not. And so, like, picking it up, I do it because I'm a human. I live in a society. I'm going to clean it up. But I'm not crazy about it. So now I still walk with him, but I let him out to go do his business, and then we'll walk. So there was like a dozen this morning that I had found. And I'd sent the boys out Sunday to go do it, and they just did a half-ass job. They probably were out there
I took pride in that as a young man. That was one of my big chores.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Sucks.
Hated it.
Yeah.
Especially when you get the ones that make you gag, like a freshie.
It's awful.
Yeah, terrible.
It's awful. So I was doing it this morning, and there was probably a dozen still out there. They did do some over the weekend, but clearly not a full comprehensive look as I would give. And as I was walking, like everything was just like a sponge. And I thought, this is going to take forever.
Oh, forever. Yeah. It is just absolutely soaked out there. I mean, yesterday was a deluge of epic proportions. By the way, you called it correctly.
Yeah.
So I had to go do a thing for Connor with a K.
Yep.
A video. You walked out. You said, "You're going to miss your window, pal."
Yesterday.
Yeah, after the post show.
Yeah.
And boy, did I.
Yes, you did.
So
I was curious. I'm like, you gotta go now.
I couldn't. I had responsibilities. I'm a working man. Gibbe gives me crap all the time.
Constant grief.
And then here I am.
Here you are.
Here I am working. And so I got that done, went out, pouring. I was, however, able to. There are no umbrellas, and I always keep an umbrella in my car.
I do too, but it doesn't do you any good.
It doesn't do you any good when it's in the car, and you're not in the car.
That's right.
And I had, yesterday I had the white.
Oh, the whites. You did have the whites.
They're totally fine. So what I did was I used our car's feature, which never has worked before.
Summons.
And it came all the way
Did
up
it?
to the very front. The security guy came up. He's like, "Dude, what is going on right now?" I'm like, "It never works.
It's never worked.
It's working right now."
What would you have done if it would have haywired and drove into the building?
Been very sad.
Yeah.
Well, once you take your finger off it stops immediately.
I never have the guts to try it because I'm always in a parking lot.
It came
and I'm like,
out of my
I don't want
spot.
to hit something.
Out of my spot, turned, and came right to the front door, which is as close as I could get. And so I just had a dead straight sprint through, and fortunately there weren't puddles yet, so I was able to shoes fine, and then I was right in. So that actually made me happy because I've tried it before with no success. So like the fact that it worked this time was really great.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to run. I wonder if it could cross the street.
It can, but I feel like that's bringing in a whole –
there's a lot of elements of them.
There are other people in the mix.
All sorts of things in the mix.
For sure.
Yeah, it got biblical last night on the way home.
Oh, my goodness.
Hail and pouring, just pouring.
One of the worst drives.
It was bad.
Yeah, it was quite bad. Back to what you were saying earlier, though, with the dogs and the picking up and sending the kids out to do it. So we're lucky with Asa she is like at least 4 times a day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so morning, when I let her out, morning. And then I do live in a society, but I say go fertilize the yard. She goes and runs around the side. Nobody sees it. Who gets her?
Yeah, that's fine.
Then my mom takes her for a walk after her breakfast. And I don't know that I've ever seen a dog, like when you think of a dog, you're like, oh, a dog. That they're motivated by food and love. Ace is obsessed with food. She could. Yeah. I think she would if I just kept feeding her all day long. I think she would eat herself into oblivion if she could. Her joy, her zest for food is like Bootsy's zest for one of my big snipes.
He
in,
loves a
in
big
Fortnite.
snipe, and he gets very excited.
Very pumped.
Very
My
excited.
favorite yesterday is like, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing with Mr. Z." I could hear you in the background. You're like, "You are?" He's like, "Yeah."
What's going on? It's fantastic. It was
I'm
dinner
like,
time.
"Hey, Bo."
I said, "Hey, buddy, how are you? Everything good over there?"
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so I came down there to get him. It was dinner time, and so I tell him to do that, and I said, "Why don't you come on up?" And he goes, "Okay." And then if you're watching on the stream, then he went,
Yeah, thumbs up because he had a great time.
Thumbs up.
We had a great time. We got a second.
Yeah.
We're close to getting our first Vic.
I talked to him. I'm like, dude, are you doing everything on your end of things to fulfill this dream of getting your first Vic? And he is honest that he is not.
Dude, you got to heal up. Like, you can't be walking around with less than full health and full shields.
Yeah.
They're
gonna work.
shooting at you.
They're shooting at you.
So every shot takes something. It's just math.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to be at 250.
What's his strategy? Like, his strategy is don't worry about
He's like,
that?
whatever, I'm at 100. I'm like, no, out of 250, that's not good.
That ain't it. Yeah.
By my calculation, it means you're at 40% health.
So that's he probably gets that headspace from how he is, like, if he's on my wife's phone. Like, he doesn't need it to be fully charged. Like, 40%, I'm good.
Yeah.
This will be plenty to get me through what I need to do.
Well, nobody's shooting the phone.
But no one's shooting at the phone.
No. So,
oh, my God.
So his zest is great, but Ace's zest for food is equally great. And she morning, then she gets her breakfast. Her breakfast is a meaty bone, a gravy bone. She loves a gravy bone. That's like the first thing she gets in the morning.
Yeah.
She gets just a teeny little bit of kibble.
Yep.
And now I give her some, after she busted her leg up, some hip and joint, supplements or whatever,
sure.
those like bones up. And
Yeah.
it seems to be helping. So she loves that. Then she goes on a walk with my mom again in the morning.
Yeah.
Then she gets lunch. Then she goes, she can't wait for her afternoon walks. After her afternoon walk, then she gets first dinner. And by the way, goes on the afternoon walk.
First dinner.
Goes on the afternoon walk as well.
Yeah.
So that's 3.
Yeah.
First dinner. Then she gets second dinner. Then she wants everything that we're eating. If you have anything in a bowl, she is demanding that the bowl, before it is washed, goes to her. Like if it's a bowl in the A's night, she is beside herself. She's got to have that bowl.
You give her some leftover stuff.
Yeah. Listen, if I'm cutting steak, she's sitting there.
Yeah.
And so I always tell the kids, I'm like, look, she was ripped away from not only her family but her species to live with these giants. And the one thing that makes her happy is food. So I'm going to give her some food. But then she has the nighttime one as well, and she always tries.
That's a lot of feeding.
No, not the night feeding. The 4 were
the
movements.
The movements happen around the feeding.
Yes,
I got it. I got you.
Yes,
that's a lot. Buddy's twice a day.
Yeah, but her kibble, she only gets. So she gets. You're gonna laugh at this. Breakfast is a third of a cup. Lunch is a third of a cup.
Yeah.
And then for dinner, because she gets first and second dinner, she gets 2/3 of a cup.
So like basically 1 cup of food for the day.
Yeah.
Is that where we're at? Okay.
Which is not a lot. Dude.
No.
It's not a lot at all.
No.
But she's lost weight. She's looking good. She's like 11 pounds. She's doing well.
Yeah.
She jumped up on the bed the other day, so maybe the wheel's getting better.
That's good.
We bought her stairs.
Just to get some
so she could use them to get up onto the bed.
Oh.
You know how many times she's used them?
None.
0.
None. 0 times.
Absolutely 0. She would rather flail herself into the middle of the bed trying to make it and being rejected.
At least she still has the spirit. The effort is still there.
She made it this yesterday morning. I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, okay. All right, she's back. But yeah, good news. I have Nana handle that stuff. When I was a kid, though, my goal was to always leave one to the point where it started growing hair.
That's always fun when it really starts to decompose.
Yeah, it's like
that's when you're really living.
It's got like white hair.
Yeah. There are so many kids that run around our yard.
Sure.
That's where I'm constantly worried about.
And those are untenable. Like,
oh my God! Did you step in one of these things? You got to throw the shoes away.
It's a horrible day.
You're not coming back from that.
No,
I'm telling you.
I would imagine that a week's worth of Ace is maybe like one of his.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. It's a full day now. It's a shovel, and I have shovels that I have around the house that I can grab one and all right, let's go work this quadrant and see if we can find some stuff. And now they're not hard to find. It's pretty easy. They show themselves quite well. What did you watch last night?
So I did get a second of the Cavaliers in.
Mm-hmm.
Credible comeback win. And
that was fun.
After being in the house for a brutal loss to the Knicks, what a great comeback. And Dean Wade is the mayor of the town for the day.
Yeah.
What a horrible loss by the Celtics.
Terrible loss. I thought, was it 32-6? They outscored them at one point. They were on like a 32-6 run.
Yeah, they were up 22 in the fourth.
Yeah.
Dean Wade himself outscored the Celtics in the fourth.
Right. Yeah. The thing that I was most excited about was how quickly they got the call right.
Yeah, and it was
a brutal call.
Absurd.
But rarely do you see like, oh, we got that wrong. I think we're going to flip that. Yeah. And it was like, oh, that went very quickly. It was about a minute.
Efficient?
It was efficient. Yeah, no, he didn't touch him.
No, he didn't.
And that was it. And it was like, I get so sick of replay in our sport. I was at the Kentucky game on Saturday, and they were constantly wanting to go back to the board and review things, and it's just exhausting.
Yeah.
And so it was so cool to have them get on a replay, see it was wrong, make it right, let's jump it over, and let's go.
In a big moment,
Big moment. Huge moment.
Yeah. That would have changed. They would have won.
Yes, they would have. They would have absolutely done that. So that's nice. And I think from this, whether you're talking about them or us or whatever you're paying attention to in a sports thing, I'm always a big fan of, all right, what is my objective? What constitutes success for me as a fan or doing what we do here? And I go back to our season, and that is a success. And we asked AB about it, and he was like, look, I can't live in a world where it's Super Bowl or it's not a success. Like, right. I can't do that. But Kevin was very much like, if you don't win the last game, it's not a success. Like, that was kind of his view of it, was you have to win the last game. You fell short. Ultimately, you fell short to the ultimate goal. And so by not doing so, how can you deem that a success? But it's all semantics.
I think what we did, give under the circumstances in which we did them, great success.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why when I look back on that season, 2023, it's magic.
Yes.
It's a magical season. I mean,
right.
It's
an unbecoming end. That's what I said. It's an unbecoming end. The way that
I wish it would have.
Houston.
I think what if it's this? What if it's the same result, but it's down to the fourth quarter, last couple of minutes?
Yeah, fine.
Then it's fine.
It feels better.
It was just that it ended so abruptly with the pick six. It was like, okay,
back to back.
That's it.
Pick six.
Pick six. Okay, it's done. Can't.
Yeah. Well,
so then we're just playing out the string.
It ended up turning into a preheising game. Davis Mills is
such a weird
9
game,
minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Because the first half was great.
It was good back and forth.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we're going to throw some punches.
And we were about to make it a one possession game on the first pick six, and that was it. And then another one, and
then it's done. Then you're done.
But no, it was a magical season. I think the Cavs, it feels like they're maybe not championship ready yet, but they should be able to. You want to do better than they did last year, right? You want to go and at least get through a round.
So I think they have to so they're right now they're the 2. So they're with Milwaukee as the 2-3, which HSG right there. There's that. So that feels like that would be your second round matchup. So you win the first round, you get the Bucks in the second. I think you need a 7-gamer there.
Yeah.
If you want to, these are awesome nights. The crowds are awesome down there. You were down there on Sunday. I had buddies at the game last night.
It's packed.
They're jacked. People are jacked up for it. It's awesome. These are really cool things to get you through. They were there. God, they're just unbelievable.
Did you guys see Joey Chestnut there too?
How many pierogies could you eat in a minute?
Not 30.
Not as many as him.
He ate 30.
How many do you think you could eat in a minute?
10. Feels like if I'm.
Have you ever heard of a pierogi before you moved here?
No.
There's not until I met my wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I never heard of it.
No.
I had no idea what it was. I didn't even understand it. I said, so basically, it's like a potato dumpling. Do I have this right? With sometimes some onion in there with butter, and that's the operation. She's like, yeah, okay. Well, I can wrap my head around that. I just never heard of it until I moved here, and then or until I met my wife.
I can wrap my head around, but at the same time, it's just like
it's such an osh. I just never even heard of the combination.
It's just not a good. It's not healthy.
No, and like every holiday, it's served. I'm talking. We have it at Thanksgiving. We have it at Easter. We have it at Christmas. Pierogies are all omnipresent. They're there every time.
Fortunately, they're not. They don't come across my.
I see them all the time.
Plate.
Now I don't have to eat them, but I see them, and I think they're fine. But like, it's a heavy dish.
Oh my God! And a lot of people enjoy them with sour cream.
They go sour cream and butter. So they go like potato with onion or cheese, then sour cream and butter, And I just go, God. So when I see Chestnut crushing 30, I think I could maybe do 6. Maybe.
Dude, it's intense.
I mean, 6 would be
6.
6 would be a
I think
day.
I could do 10.
You are a spectacular consumer of food.
I know, but I would also be starting to get grossed out.
You would, but you could do it. Yeah, your ability to have really incredible manners and eat a great amount of food in a short amount of time is a true gift.
Thank you.
Yeah, I meant it as a very big compliment.
I take it as such.
I've seen it. I'm going, God, I don't know how you're doing it.
I'm still in the conversation.
You're in conversation. There's at no point where I feel like you're rushing at all, and you're consuming at a great rate. It's a scene. I'm impressed. I'm nothing short of it. I should take the boys, send them to your house.
Bring them
do
on.
that.
We'd love it. Yeah, do that.
Can you imagine just a weekend? I sent them over there for a weekend.
I would do it.
Amazing.
I do. I think we'd have fun.
You guys have the time of your lives.
Yeah,
you'd go play golf.
We'd play
Play
golf.
Play a little Fortnite.
Probably order some.
You got double Xboxes. So
yeah,
you play a
order
little
some
Fortnite.
pizza.
Yeah,
We'd have some Fortnite. We'd play some.
Time of your lives.
Yeah, some ping pong, some pool.
Be big wins for everybody. So back to the Cavs. I think you got to go 6-7 games
in the second round.
In the second round.
I think you really what you want is, and I don't know if you'll get it, but what you want is the Knicks in the first round.
I don't think you want any part of them.
Well, you got.
They can't beat them.
You got to beat them.
I understand, but I don't think they can.
You've got to be able to beat them.
Dude, they punked them Sunday.
With nobody.
With nobody playing, they punked them. They're flicking Donovan Mitchell's chain. They are disrespectful.
Josh Hart, that was a gangster move.
That was a big-time gangster move.
And he's not a great shooter. The step-back three hit was great defense.
He had a triple-double. Didn't he have 19 rebounds?
He had a triple-double in the middle of the third quarter.
He's a guard.
Yeah, he had like 19 rebounds.
Yeah.
He was – yeah.
So, I just don't know.
But you've got to be able to beat a team with some swagger and some
Do
bully
Apex
tendencies.
entertainment for us. It would be beat the Knicks in the first round would be the most entertaining, fun.
You kind of
We're
want
engaged.
them.
Yeah, that would be the one. And then you get to Milwaukee.
Where are the Knicks right now? 5?
I don't know. I have no clue. I don't watch a lot of it.
See, I think
my kids will get into it. Like they right now they're all in, so they'll watch the college basketball, and then the Cavs are the two things they're monitoring. So I don't watch a game from start to finish. I'll paratroop in the last couple of minutes if it's close, like I did last night. But I'm not watching start.
All right,
to
so
finish.
right now, Celtics are the 1, and the Celtics have already clinched a playoff berth. They are the only team in the East to have done so.
Yeah.
Celtics are 1, Bucks are 2 currently, Cavs are 3, the Orlando Magic are 4, the Knicks are 5, the Heat are 6th, the 76ers 7, Pacers 8, Bulls 9, Hawks 10.
Oh yeah, and they do the play-in thing
for the play-in. And right now, the Heat, 76ers, and Pacers are all pretty close to each other. The Bulls and Hawks have losing records.
I would not want to play Miami.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Could you name the top 3 guys on the Orlando Magic right now?
Isn't Paolo Banchero there?
1.
They drafted a kid from Florida State, Isaac.
He's had a lot of injuries at this point in his career, Isaac.
He's not there.
Jonathan
Isaac's not there.
Still
he's
there,
played 1 game this year.
Ah, sad. Do they have what about Jalen Suggs? Is he there? The kid
he would be the 3rd
from Gonzaga
of their second leading
scorer. Banchero, Suggs,
their 3rd leading scorer.
Wagner.
I was gonna say somebody that the Hoff might see in
Franz Wagner.
Franz Wagner. Yeah.
Okay. So, but good job out of me.
Great job out of you. Insane.
Man, I haven't seen Atlanta Magic games since Penny left. So
yeah, since I didn't play, I had no 2K in my rotation this year. I'm not as well versed on the
I don't
league.
know it. Yeah. So they're like the 3.
They're the 4. They're
the
36
4 right
and
now?
26. Knicks are 36 and 26. Heat are 35 and 26. 76ers are 35 and 26. 76ers are playing, and the Pacers are pretty solid, 35 and 28.
All right.
The Sixers have been missing Joel Embiid for a while now.
Yeah.
So that's why they're down there. They're like the scariest 7 seed because if they get Embiid back.
Is there talk that he could come back?
I think he's supposed to be back around the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of scary as a 7 seed.
That would be. Yeah, that would be.
So win around minimum requirement. Feel happy about things. Get me to a 6-7 game in an Eastern Conference semi.
Yeah.
Ecstatic Eastern Conference final.
Thrilled.
Thrilled.
Absolutely thrilled.
Okay. That's where I'm kind of.
By the way,
yeah,
the guy on the Cavs, Merrill.
Yeah, the guy who doesn't miss.
He's unbelievable to watch.
Does not miss threes. Yeah.
So
they had a stat. It wasn't like 70% on catch and shoot threes.
He's number 1 in the league. He's averaging in 16. He needs to play more. Like he should be. I want him on the floor a lot. Now Josh Hart bullied him when he was defending him 1-on-1, and so Dante DiVincenzo's pretty nasty in that game too. And
he was
talks
good.
A lot of smack.
Good for him.
We were close
I
enough.
like that.
Yeah, he's got a lot of swag to him. They had to put Okoro on him late in that game. But so 16 minutes. Where's this? I need a shooting. This to me is the crazy thing. So he's shooting 43.8% from 3, which I guess is the best he's got. Why was he not in the 3-point shootout? It's outrageous.
Yeah,
Should have been in
is.
it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him in it. Okay, he has attempted on the season 266 field goals.
Yep.
How many of the 266 field goal attempts that he has do you believe are 3-pointers?
I know it's going to be an absurd amount, so that my hunch is it's probably like 245.
233.
Yeah.
Out of 266. The game that I went to against the Knicks, he had 21 points on the night. He took nothing but threes. Every single attempt was a 3.
Yeah.
I think it was 7 for like.
Do you think
12.
at some point that they should eliminate that shot?
The 3-point shot?
Yeah. To get the movement back in the game?
It's the NBA product is
It's not great.
it's not a great product because it's either isolation or it's just chucking threes.
Yep.
It's threes, dunks. There's really no kind of nuance to the game.
None.
And it's fun when people really try to play D at the end of a game. But I don't know if you can get rid of it. Do you move it back? Where can it go?
You'd have to get rid of the corner 3 if you moved it back anymore.
Right, scoring 3 would be out of bounds.
So if you could put a line like somewhere between the top of the key and the half court and say if you shoot from back here, that's worth 3. But maybe that would. I don't know. It's tough. The last couple of minutes are great if it's engaged and it's a close game. Other than that, it's just kind of trade and pick and roll.
Playoffs will be good.
Playoffs are good, but even some of those games suck individually.
Sure. A game 7 is.
Yeah,
that's what's
so
so great about the NFL is every game of the playoffs is a game 7.
That's why football's 1 and 2 in this country.
That's the advantage of football. Yeah,
is that every game matters. That's the difference.
So you were talking about corner threes. I was in my random scrolling yesterday.
Yep.
I came across a video that had Tony Parker.
All right.
And it was somebody from the Celtics teams or from the Heat. Ray Allen was on the Heat.
Yeah.
When he hit the corner 3.
Corner 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
So somebody was on that Heat team, but it wasn't LeBron or Bosh or Wade, obviously. Actually, Wade was in there, but he wasn't the one telling this story. So they were talking about that shot, and they show the replay of it, and Tony Parker goes, I closed out. I was right there. He said, I couldn't foul him because Pop would have been all over me if I fouled him. He said, and I was there. Like I was in his bringing the ball.
Yep.
I was right there. He said it was one of the greatest shots I've ever seen. And he said what was so crazy to him is how Allen was able to sprint to the corner backwards, catch it, shoot it, never look at his feet, know that he was not only behind the line but not out of bounds, which is not a big amount of room.
No.
And so the guy on the Heat told a story that every day after practice, Allen would lie on the ground under the basket. Somebody would slap the ball. He would hop up, sprint to the corner, backpedaling, so that he could catch it and shoot it without going and have somebody watch to make sure.
You're telling me he prepared for that?
Yes. They said he did it after every practice like 100 times. So that they were as surprised as anybody who was watching that was that that shot went in. The guys on the Heat were like, this is the best possible scenario because he literally does this every single day from the ground. He starts lying on the ground, hops himself up, gets out there, backpedals to the back, doesn't look, boom. So he knew it was a total muscle memory shot.
That's great.
It's crazy.
That's great, though. They're like the preparation. It paid off, man. That's incredible.
Bigly.
I've never heard that story. That's
Manu
wild.
just shouldn't have missed his free throws.
Shouldn't have missed the free throws, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Make your free throws, and you don't have to worry about it. Poe with this, he says his great-grandma was off the boat from Poland, would make homemade pierogies by the hundreds until her 90s, 10 out of 10 dish. There is a nostalgia to them. There's no question. For those of you who grew up with them, Dave says the perfect pierogi dinner is sauerkraut and kielbasa, sour cream and hot sauce. That's so much going on. I can't even imagine taking that in.
See, to me, I'm a dumpling guy.
Yeah,
but I need meat in my dumpling.
Yeah.
You want to throw lobster in there? Great. You want to throw?
They
some
don't do a
ground
meat pierogi, do they?
No, because then I don't think it's a pierogi anymore.
Sounds like a dish from my childhood: sauerkraut, pierogies, and kibasi.
Oh,
that was it. Yeah.
Like growing up
How does
around
that
here,
di-
that's what
how
we
I
about
don't
ate.
know how
maybe,
I could digest
Why
that.
don't we make? I want to challenge. Why don't we make a shepherd's pie pierogi? So you're still getting the essence of a pierogi, in that you're getting the dumpling with some mashed potato in there.
Yeah.
But then you're also going to get a little ground lamb, maybe some peas, some carrots.
Yeah.
And then it would at least would.
There's some nutritional value.
And there's some there's some
Substance,
protein.
Yeah, a little bit of protein.
That's
to it.
straight that's carb stuff with carbs.
That's correct. Yeah.
And then topped with fat
That's right.
with a side of fat.
That's right. It's more. Yeah, that's it. Drenched in butter. Yeah.
There's a
something.
reason people on the coast maybe are a little they're not exposed to this. They look a little different.
A little bit different indeed. Yeah, so the Kelseys did well. That was cool to see
They're
them.
great.
They're
Chugging
great.
beer. It's awesome.
Yeah, they had a great. I saw this morning on their podcast. Travis talked to Jason about his retirement and got really emotional with it. With you
What about
know,
the Nick Foles story?
it's a great story. God bless.
I love that he put that in there. Speaking of, did you see the story about the guy who has taped him his entire career?
No,
Oh man! All right, hold on.
has taped Jason.
Taped Jason, as in the athletic trainer who taped him.
Taped him up.
Yep, taped him up.
taped his.
This won't take me
Okay.
but 1 second.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good. Initially I thought you meant he had a video recorder on him the whole time, but
There we go.
instead actually taped his ankles.
His name on Instagram was Trainer Joe O, and there's a picture of him and Kelsey hugging each other. And he says, I remember back in Jason's second year. This is actually, I think this is worth reading, so I'm going to do it. You're going to get it verbatim.
Yep.
I remember back in Jason's second year when he tore his knee. I went to the head trainer and told him that I needed to do his rehab because he needed to be treated like an athlete, not a conventional offensive lineman. What would occur over the next 12-plus years would certainly impact my life in a way I never would imagine. You all know about the on-field accomplishments and many of the off-field ones too, but what this man has meant to me and now my family over the past decade plus is nearly indescribable. From being his wing bowl corner man to hour-long rehab sessions followed by nights out on the town, to sleeping on each other's couches, to being at each other's weddings, to Sea Isle City polar bear plunges, to the Super Bowl appearances in a ring, we were there doing it together. And in what would be his final season, when I was diagnosed with cancer and had to undergo radiation and chemo, he offered his shore house if I ever needed to get away and offered to pay for meal services to help my wife and I out. And he called me randomly when I had been home, too sick to come in because of chemo, just to check on me and chat about random things. That's who he is as a person. I taped this guy's ankles and thumbs every day for 13 seasons. And when he played his last game in Tampa, again, I could not be there due to cancer. And when he told me he would be retiring, I expressed my regret of not being the last person to ever tape him up. And he offered to have me tape him up for his retirement press conference. So if you notice, he was taped up for that.
Yeah.
That's who he is, and I hope these stories can add to an already unbelievable legacy.
Come on. That's great.
Yeah, what a guy.
What a guy.
Yeah. And he goes on and basically say, I love him, and congrats to the family, and thank you for everything you meant. But
That's incredible.
awesome. It gives you the emotions, man.
Yeah.
That's what life's all about.
That's it, man. That's
Yeah.
absolutely what life is all about. Those are your hot topics today, presented by Vivid Seats, official fan experience partner of your Cleveland Browns. There are reports out there that there could be we know there's a mutual interest, but that Joe Flacco and the Browns have met about a potential reunion. We will get to that. We had some big names released yesterday, some franchise tags applied. Feels like Cousins kind of is going to be the one that goes first, or will be the one that has to kind of go first. We'll get to all of that coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hey, as you're tired of worrying about your roof or siding, get some peace of mind. Upgrade with Renew Home Exteriors. The Renew Home Exteriors lifetime warranty on roofing and siding products offers durability and protection that you can trust. And the best part, with no money down and no payments or interest for 24 months, improving your home has never been easier. All you have to do is mention ESPN to receive an exclusive $2,000 off your upgrade. Enjoy peace of mind with a new roof or siding. Renew Home Exteriors, superior products and superior service. Visit RenewEstimate.com for more on that. Reports that Joe Flacco has met with the Browns about a possible reunion. He said as much, that he'd want to take some time, see what was out there, but that he really enjoyed his time and would like to be back.
Least surprising thing ever.
Yeah.
Do I think that he'll get an opportunity to start somewhere? I do. So we'll have to see what that looks like for Joe Flacco. I would love to have him back as a backup.
How many jobs do we got?
One.
Go ahead, make your point.
One thing that's interesting, though, is as we are transitioning a little bit of our offense to be more Deshaun Watson-centric, that's not to say that we couldn't go back to some of our core concepts that Flacco ran very well. You know, you just wonder, does he fit what we're doing? I'm just asking that as a question.
Fair question.
I want Joe Flacco back. I couldn't have loved the guy anymore. Every time I got to talk to him, it was a delight. When he was in the studio with us here, absolute delight. You mentioned earlier in the show the season was magic. A big part of that was Flacco.
Yes.
The magical feel part of it was Flacco. Where we feel like we got cheated was the Browns season needed to either continue or end in Baltimore. We needed to beat Houston. You needed to have Flacco return to Baltimore. That's how you know it's not scripted. If it was scripted, folks, we would have gone to Baltimore, period, end of story.
Yes.
Because there would have been no bigger matchup. Browns, Ravens, Flacco, all of it. So
I like how that was the threshold for, it's not scripted.
That's it.
As opposed to everything else.
That's the one.
All the rest of it
That's
also would prove that as well. Yeah.
Well, listen, we can line them up. I'm just lining up Exhibit A. That was just Exhibit A. I would love it. I think he is such a good influence, and I think that his presence would give you kind of another coach in that room. And also, if he was here for a full offseason, I think he could really help Deshaun with some of that back to the field defense play action game because of he can say, look, this is what I'm looking at. These are my keys. This is what I'm reading. This is how I decide.
Yeah.
I think it would be very good. I would love it.
Same. Here are the teams. Now, you tell me who I'm leaving out. These are the teams who I think I think there are only 5 teams who for sure will have a new quarterback. Well, I think there's only 4 teams that will for sure have a new quarterback. New England, Atlanta, Denver, and Vegas. I think Tampa Bay could, depending on how this all shakes out and what their interests are. Like, they may be in the Justin Fields market now. If Atlanta is going to go Cousins, which it seems like that's the way that's going to go, then if you're Tampa Bay, do you flip right away into Fields and say he can throw a deep ball to Mike Evans? That's one thing he can do.
Yes.
You broached that yesterday. I thought it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The 2 that I have question marks would be Minnesota if Cousins leaves.
Which seems like he is.
Seems like he is. And then Pittsburgh, who but I don't know what I don't understand. Well, we'll have Brooke Pryor on at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, maybe we'll
get
some
clarity.
We'll
get some clarity on what their thought is. But when you talk about Flacco starting, you've got Cousins, you've got
there aren't a
Fields, Russ.
Flacco would start in New England if New England drafts a quarterback and they wanted him there to be the bridge mentor.
Yes. Yeah.
And supposedly they also are interested in Jacoby Brissett in the same role.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. There isn't one where he's going in and it's like, no, you're Joe Flacco's our starter for 2024.
No. Be bridge. And so that would be New England.
Look at him just pacing by. God, Monaco today. She's not a fan of it, not happy with it at all. Just running a business.
How is she not a bigger fan of the peacocking?
She doesn't like it.
She even went thumbs down.
Yeah, thumbs down. Yeah, against it, adamantly.
Anti-peacocking.
I feel
this is the man's runway.
Anti-senior swag.
Anti-swag.
Anti-senior swag.
I don't know how you could be anti-senior swag. It's running a business.
They do it at your own peril.
Very much. Some big names released yesterday. Jamal Adams, Quadre Diggs, Will Dissly, all from Seattle. Jerome Baker from Miami released. The Jaguars released Darius Williams was released there. Eric Kendricks with the Chargers as well, among those who were released. Franchise tags.
You're going to give Foley Fudukasi his?
I didn't want to say the name.
I had it for you. That was on our boards.
Jalen Johnson was franchise tagged in Pittsburgh. Josh Allen with the Jaguars, and Kyle Duggar, who I always remember Kyle Duggar. It must have been the Delpit draft.
Lenore Ryan.
I remember Dane Brugler saying that over and over. Kyle Duggar. He loved Kyle Duggar.
Yeah, and he had that horrific game we played in New England. He had a pick six off of Bake early in that one. He also was represented by the agent to the Stars. And yeah, he got kind of done dirty by the New England Patriots right here.
Did they really?
Yeah, transition tagging him. That means he's probably not going to get any offers. This is a guy that was looking at big money on a multi-year deal, big guarantees, and now he's basically locked into a one-year deal.
Cruel game, this one.
Yeah, it's a tough business.
Yeah. Broncos are going to let Russell Wilson meet with teams before legal tampering period begins, so he's going to do so with permission. Cousins, Wilson, Fields, and then it feels like Baker is the fourth in there, and depending on what the first three do.
Yeah, it's going to be wild, right? And
like somebody had like Minnesota with Baker if they lose Cousins. I don't see that at all. Like to me, like Kwesi, would he? I don't know that he would go down.
I don't know.
That doesn't feel like a fit to me.
No, he would have at least some comfort, and there is tape of him playing well in a similar styled offense in the second half of 2020.
Yeah.
And, doing some nice things with McVay. So there's similar principles there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There aren't many jobs.
No, there aren't.
At the position.
I given you. It's New England, Denver. Other than like Washington's taking a quarterback, Bears are taking Caleb Williams. So like those are the no-brainer things. But then after that, and then by the way, to further
did you
prove
mention
your
Denver?
point, I did.
Yeah, okay.
To further prove your point, you could have 5 first-round quarterbacks.
Right. So there are, in the AFC West, 2 open jobs. In the AFC South, I think you could make the case that there are none.
Yeah.
AFC North, none. Well, I guess Steelers. So that's 3. We'll count Steelers. That's 3. Patriots is 4. So there's 4 in the AFC.
Yeah.
NFC, Commanders, 5. Vikings, 6. Bears, we won't count. We really shouldn't count the Commanders.
Shouldn't count the Patriots or the Commanders. Unless
Okay.
New England could zag, though.
They could.
True open jobs. It's Atlanta, Denver,
Tampa.
Vegas, right now Tampa.
Right now, Tampa.
That's it. That's the list. True open jobs right now, that's it.
Yeah.
That's where you're at. Hey, where are you going to be when Billy Joel and Ron Stewart perform together for the first time ever on Friday, September 13th?
Cleveland Browns Stadium, brah.
You better be there. Tickets are on sale now. Visit clevelandbrownstadium.com/Billy and Rod 2024.
Like it's September 13th. Clear your calendar.
Go see Billy and Rod.
Billy and Rod 2024.
Yeah.
One night only.
It's
Never
one night.
again.
Well,
You don't-
theoretically.
One night only says one night only.
No, one night only here. I think it's possible they could do, like, could they also do this in England, for example? Maybe.
I don't know.
But you don't
I
know.
don't think so.
It's not scheduled.
Listen, you never
It's
know.
not
You can't
scheduled.
take anything for granted.
Take nothing for granted in life, kids. You got to live. You got to live.
Right.
Stefanski from the Combine coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join Next Gen STM presented by Ticketmaster, the official waitlist of your Cleveland Browns. Being a Next Gen STM is the best chance to become a season ticket member in future seasons. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/nextgenstm to reserve your spot today. And now let's go back last week to Indy and Coach Stefanski at the podium.
You're down.
I know what Mary Kay was asking you about getting a new input for the offense and trying to maximize Deshaun. How important is it to get guys who've been in college, like Tommy, to add to that?
Yeah, it can be. I think the game, as you know, Scott, like you're always trying to stay ahead of all the evolutions that this game that are taking place, and that's one of the things that what keeps me up at night is where's the game going, where's the offensive game going. I tell people all the time that you can put tape on from 20 years ago, or call it 15 years ago. When I'm on the sideline of those games, but that game doesn't resemble our current game. Just think about shotgun, how simple that is, right? Shotgun has shot up a ton in the last 15 years. So it's like, what are those evolutions coming? And oftentimes those plays from high school, college make their way to the NFL. So certainly we're always looking at plays that maybe will be showing up on Sundays.
Was that something you looked at specifically when, like for Tommy, like a guy like Tommy?
Yeah, that factored into wanting to add Tommy to our staff. Yes.
Where do you think offense is going?
Great question. I'm not going to tell you because I want everybody else to know. But, yeah, I mean, you look at every trend throughout the league and what are people doing a lot of, and then it's okay, what can we zig while everybody else zags? Those are the type of conversations we have. So the game will always be evolving based on the players that are coming in, based on the rules that are changing year to year. So I'm just trying to stay ahead of the evolution.
Did you know that Tommy was a ball boy for the Browns when he was a kid before he got in the building?
I did know. I didn't know the ball boy part, but I knew Tommy had been in the building before. I know with his dad working there. So I know when he came in for his interview, there were a couple people that recognized him.
With the Greenbrier, did you know immediately that you wanted to go back, or was that like maybe recently?
I wouldn't say immediately, but once you got down there, once we were leaving there, just based on the experience, what you don't want to do is say, we had a good year or a bad year, it's all tied back to that. That's not the case. But coming out of there, I thought we got our work done. I thought whatever we did in terms of the players being around each other was positive. It's a beautiful environment. They treated us great down there. So felt pretty strongly shortly thereafter we left there that it'd be a good thing to return.
Kevin, on Dorsey, a serious question. In your vetting process with him, did you address the anger issue that was presented in that one video?
No. I know Ken.
I need to?
Well, I know Ken. I know what he's about. He is so hyper-competitive. That's who he is. The stories of him playing pickup basketball are legendary. He wants to win. He wants to, and look at his career as a player. What the teams he was on, how he competed like crazy. So I think he's just such a competitive person. But that one moment is really not a big deal.
Will he stay upstairs?
We'll work through it.
Kevin, with the run game, I mean, what are the challenges when you don't have Nick back fully yet? Obviously, you have a new position coach, you have Jerome, you guys are still trying to develop. Like, what is that going to look like these next, handful of months?
Yeah, good question. Again, those are all things that we're discussing and working through. I'm excited about Deuce and the impact that he's going to have on that room. You mentioned Jerome. Deuce is a guy that has played at a high level. He's developed young guys. He brings his own ideas based on the schemes that he's been in over the years, but we're working through all that.
Kevin, the fact that Ken Dorsey kind of came out of the Brian Dable, Bill O'Brien sort of trickled down, how much do you think that will help in him working with Deshaun, that he's got that?
Yeah, I think all of that is important, Mary Kay. Ken's been in a bunch of different systems. I know most recently you mentioned Dave's and what they were doing in Buffalo, but Ken has been in versions of Norv's system, which I was also in when he was in Carolina. So he sees the game we see the game very similarly, but all of his experiences I think are important what he brings with him.
Deuce supposedly has some legendary competitive practices with Schwartz in Philly. Is that part of the attraction to him? A little more fire into that?
Not necessarily. I mean, that's part of who Deuce is. Deuce brings the energy every single day. He does a great job, just even with our staff, bringing it every day. He definitely is a guy that you're going to hear out there on the practice field. He may have some shouting matches with the coaches at times. That might happen, so I may have to intervene. But again, a very, very competitive guy.
And I know that you are working through things and you'll have meetings that are coming up, but was there like a shared philosophy with you and Ken when you were interviewing and then when you decided to hire him that you thought you both like this and this is going to continue?
Yeah, I think Ken, again, going back to his background, is varied. So he's somebody that, there's not many plays that he hasn't run or different systems that he hasn't run. So he's open-minded. I think that's where we are as an offensive staff right now as we put this thing back together is what fits our guys. What are the best things that we feel like are going to be concepts, run game, pass game that fit our guys. And I think Ken's uniquely positioned to do that.
But kind of going back to the team building stuff with Tony Pryor. Last year you did that week in LA. You have 2 Western trips. Is that something that have you requested a similar
Yeah, we'll get there. Not yet on the schedule necessarily. I think our logistics team's going to want to kill me if I keep planning all these trips. No, I think we'll see how it goes, but not necessarily there yet in terms of requesting trips.
Ever been to Brazil?
Never. We'll see. I don't have any. I don't know. I know that's been reported, but I don't know.
Kevin, with Elijah Moore, do you feel like he may have been someone that suffered from all the turnover and the revolving door quarterback? Do you think the upside is so much higher for him?
I do. I mean, you look at Elijah's. Just look at the numbers. I mean, he has a career year, and I think that was for a reason. I feel really strongly about him as a player. As you know, when you are moving different quarterbacks in there, that can affect it. You look at the Jets game where Amari's out and Elijah went right to the focal part and was making plays up and down the field before he got hurt. So I know what he's capable of, and after a career year, we anticipate him even getting better.
How valuable was just Ken's previous work with other quarterbacks that are sort of in the same, I guess, conceptually, like what Deshaun would do in terms of like Cam Newton, Josh Allen, and I guess what are some of the things as you guys are putting your heads together that he kind of was bringing to the table that you hope he can pull out of Deshaun?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it with Ken's experience. Ken has had a lot of experience with a bunch of different quarterbacks, but notably, like you mentioned, Josh Allen, Cam Newton. As we all know, that the game in this NFL is evolving constantly year to year. So I think Ken is a person with his experience, with what he's been exposed to. I feel really confident with him running our meetings, making sure that we're staying ahead of it.
How do you handle the fact that you've got Deshaun coming off of this shoulder injury? You've got Ken who's worked with 2 guys that plowed through guys like the linebackers. How do you handle the whole running piece with Deshaun, and what will you tell him to do with it?
Right. I think they're all all quarterbacks are different, Mary Kay, and like you mentioned, Josh Allen and Cam Newton are different. Deshaun has always been very mobile. He will always continue to be very mobile. We'll always teach him and coach him up on being smart because he's a great player for us. We don't want him to get injured, as we know, as important as that position is. But that's always going to be part of his game. So Ken and I will constantly, coach all of our quarterbacks to make sure that they're taking care of themselves.
When you talk about the backup quarterback, and whether it's Deshaun coming off the shoulder, just around the league, a bunch of guys got hurt. Do you think there's more value in having an experienced guy behind Deshaun?
We'll see. I think there's value in experience, of course, but we'll see how it all shakes out. I thought Dorian did a great job for us. I thought he got better as the season went on, as you would expect a young player. So I expect him to take a big jump in year 1 and 2 as well.
This applies to a lot of different guys, but I think back specifically last season, Jeremiah putting on a bunch of muscle while he was an alkaline vegan and doing that. What does it say about players who use this off time, to kind of level up and work on things that they want to and that you guys are kind of looking forward to?
Yeah, it's a great point about JOK. He was very intentional about getting stronger last year. And I thought that showed his playing. It showed him being available. And his strength, not just in how he plays, but being able to take the wear and tear of the 17-game season. So he's somebody that works very hard off the field. And like you mentioned, it's a unique situation for him. But I would tell you, there's guys, I'm sure, that were in Berea this morning working out. There's guys really all over the globe right now that are with us working out, not because they have to, but because that's part of their job, is making sure that they're keeping their body.
Kevin, with quarterbacks throwing out a shotgun versus under center.
I'm sorry?
How do you feel about quarterbacks throwing out a shotgun versus under center?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of, shotgun's really the majority of plays now, whereas that was so different. I can remember early in my career, we were 3rd and 10, we were under center. So that's just changed. I think the timing the classically trained guys, some of the timing coming from under center is just a little bit different from the gun, just based on the time that the ball travels back to the quarterback. But as you've seen, we'll do both. I believe there's ways to play the game, whether you're in the gun, whether you're under center in the pistol. There's definitely ways to do a variety of things.
Kevin, I know. Go ahead, Kelsey.
With the your later draft picks, how beneficial are these meetings and interviews, getting a chance to be in front of them and get to know them personally?
Yeah, it's really important, and I think we try very hard here to get in front of the players. We'll have Zooms with the players that we don't catch here. We'll bring players into our building in the spring as part of our 30 visits. So all of these are exposures for us. And as you know, when you're making these decisions and you're adding these guys to your team, you want to find out as much as you can about them. And sometimes in 15 minutes, it's hard to find out everything. So our scouts do a great job as information gatherers and trying to teach you about a guy and explain what a guy is about. But ultimately, getting them in your building or here, getting in front of them, I think is really important.
You guys have obviously a handful of guys on that D-line. I know there's turnover every year, but they're due to be free agents. Just how confident are you guys that you're going to be able to rebuild, replenish that room, however you want to word it?
I think we'll work hard to do what's right. I know Andrew has a plan and is ready to go in that regard, but it was an important position for us. That will always, just like the offensive line, really both lines are super important to us.
Kevin, on that O-line, I know you'll never say you could have too many tackles, but with three guys who probably want to start, do you think one of those guys will be able to handle maybe not playing if that happens?
It's a great problem to have. I feel awesome about all of our guys, but the three guys you're talking about, I feel great about it.
Do you feel like you have enough really good, strong weapons for Deshaun, and will you solicit input from him on that topic and take it into consideration?
Yeah, any quarterback I've ever been around would always take more guys, of course. So, but I think Deshaun trusts Andrew. I trust Andrew. We'll go through this process and do what is right for the team. But certainly, you're always trying to add as many weapons as you can.
Kevin, last year switched to Jim and Bubba, seemed to go really well. Did that give you any more comfort in switching all the guys on offense this year?
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize it that way. I would just, Jim and Bubba, I'm really, really excited about those guys. What we were able to accomplish in year one, I think was really impressive, and are things that, we looked for a big jump from year 1 and 2 as well.
What did you think of your B- grade from the players?
Yeah, report card season, I guess. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I feel really confident that the players can give me input whenever they see fit.
Would you rather get an A in that and no Coach of the Year, or rather Coach of the Year?
No comment.
Kevin, when it comes to wanting to stay ahead of trends on offense, would you pick like Jim Schwartz's brain and kind of see what he's seeing?
Oh, yeah, we talk about it all the time. I mean, and again, there's nuance to this game, and there's things that show up in a given season. There's things that show up in the Super Bowl that are going to show up in Week 1, and maybe it was just a little bit different of a motion, or maybe it was a different formation, or maybe they taught that concept slightly differently than we teach it. What are the advantages of that? So that's the fun part of the off season for us, is looking at where these trends are going. So we
30
both from a data standpoint. Let's gather all this information. Let's look at it. What literal trends in play type do we see going up? Do we see going down? And then from a coaching perspective, as we watch all this tape, hey, teams are doing a lot of this. Why? A lot of the pre-snap motion. Why are they doing it? What advantages are they gaining? So that's what the spring is about. And then I think it's fun for us as we see it all show up then in the fall as teams start to implement some of those changes.
You playing Ken in pickup?
No, I retired.
You're up. All right, there you go, Coach from the Combine. Coming up next, we continue Behind Enemy Lines on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brooke Pryor joins the program. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. For a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk Canucks, proud partner of your Cleveland Browns as we continue our Behind Enemy Lines segment in advance of free agency. We are in Pittsburgh now for ESPN NFL Nation Steelers reporter, great friend of the program, Brooke Pryor, joining us. Talk a little bit about the Steelers, their situation. She joins on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Brooke, thanks so much for taking the time. Are they really not going to get a quarterback here? Is this real? They're not adding to that room, Brooke?
That is everything that I'm hearing. I was in Indianapolis last week at the Combine, and all of the conversations I had were very much that the Steelers are going to roll with the guys they have. Obviously, Kenny Pickett being the only one under contract right now, but it kind of feels at this point it's more likely than not that Mason Rudolph returns to kind of compete with Kenny Pickett or be the guy to push Kenny Pickett in a quarterback competition in training camp. And then maybe they draft a guy and, a second-day pick, maybe third-day pick. But I think if you've got, Photoshops or edits of Justin Fields in a Steelers uniform or Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins, you put those in the trash folder. Maybe save them for later just in case crazier things have happened, but I don't see it at this point.
Are you surprised by that?
I'm not, because it goes against everything the Steelers have done. Now, it's not what I would do, but I am not in charge of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. They are incredibly loyal. We know that about them, right? I mean, they want to stick with their guy. They want to say, hey, we were right about Kenny Pickett when we drafted him in the first round. So it's kind of hard to cut bait when you want to be loyal. I think I would have a hard time doing that if I was the decision maker, but that's why I am not, and I just write about what they do.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing, and we did the Ravens yesterday and talking a little bit about them, and obviously we're in this spot. We know the Bengals are in this spot. Like all of these teams in the AFC are trying to track down Kansas City, and all of these rosters in the AFC North are either smack dab in the middle of the prime or entering it. In the case of Baltimore, maybe getting out of it in terms of some of the decisions they're going to have to make. But when you look at Pittsburgh's roster, and they had a winning record again, you look at it and you go, boy, if they just had like decent quarterback play, like Russell Wilson's 67% completions, 26 touchdowns, 8 picks, like if he's on there, doesn't that get him to 11, 12 wins? Where's the fan base with all this, Brooke? Are they want to run back Pickett? Are they convinced?
That is not what Twitter tells me. Let me tell you, the fan base, I think, is feeling pretty antsy because it's this, obviously the thing in Pittsburgh is the standard is the standard. And right now they're holding with the status quo more than trying to live up to a standard that was set by, the franchise in years past when they were winning Super Bowls. Right now, I think it feels very frustrating and like they're in this purgatory of, look at this roster. How can you waste T.J. Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick? And you've got this electric just offensive weapon in George Pickens and Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. And there are all these pieces, and there's just this hurdle that this team feels like they're refusing to leap over because it would mean they have to change how they do business in terms of acquiring a quarterback. And so it kind of feels like the Steelers saying, hey, you know what? We know that maybe you guys think we need a quarterback. We know best. We think that we can win by making a team that is a run-first team, a strong offensive line. We're going to invest our resources in the trenches, and we're going to try to beat all of these really good offenses with a good defense and an offense that, dominates time of possession. And I think that that's why they brought in Arthur Smith instead of someone from, like a Clint Kubiak, somebody from, a more of a high-flying Shanahan-type offense. They're saying, hey, we're going to commit to ground and pound and hope that gets us, back to the playoffs and maybe win a first playoff game since 2016.
Brooke, you said if you were running the Steelers, you would do something different. What would you do? What would be the Brooke Pryor plan for 2024? And as you said, a hyper-competitive AFC North, Pat Mahomes, all of it. What would be your course of action? And was it influenced by everybody on Twitter?
Well, first of all, I can tell you that I am a terrible fantasy football manager, which is probably why I am, among other reasons, not a real general manager of an NFL team. But
Sure.
if I'm the Steelers, I trade for Justin Fields, especially as that price tag comes down. And I know the Steelers are so good in the draft, especially in the second round. I mean, last year they got Joey Porter Jr. and Keanu Benton, two guys that started a lot of games, will be cornerstones, I think, of a defense for a long time. You know, they've gotten guys like George Pickens in the second round. But when I look at what Justin Fields can be, where his ceiling is, I think his ceiling is so much higher than Kenny Pickett's. I think there's a ton of potential. There's a ton of meat left on that bone. I'm trading for him, and I'm kind of saying, you know what? We have tried with Kenny Pickett. Maybe Justin Fields is the flashy, shiny object that I'm being distracted by, and I should give Kenny Pickett another chance to play under an offensive coordinator that has a system that's maybe a little more sophisticated and puts him in better positions. But I would feel so tempted by Justin Fields, especially knowing he's someone that Mike Tomlin really liked coming out in the draft, and I think could really flourish in Pittsburgh in the right set of circumstances.
Well, Brooke, can I just tell you on behalf of Bo and I think many Cleveland Browns fans, we're glad you're not running the Steelers.
That's not what we want.
That's not what we do not want Justin Fields.
We don't need chasing him around.
No, we do not need him playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if quarterback, if it truly is much ado about nothing, Kenny Pickett, and they're going to obviously bring Mason Rudolph back or figure out a way to do that, what is the big offseason story in your mind for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, you know, when I look at their free agency, it feels like the Steelers are in the middle of this deja vu. I just finished writing about 1,000 words on a free agency preview. The positions that they need to address in free agency are largely the same as last year. They need more inside linebackers, another corner, maybe another safety, some more offensive linemen. And I think for this team, it's about trying to get something going offensively, which, again, feels a lot like what we talked about this time last year, where they were coming off of the second half of the season where they got into a good rhythm offensively. They got a run game established. Kenny Pickett looked good, and it felt like, okay, they've got to build on this momentum. And then it just kind of, the tires spun in their tracks until Mason Rudolph took over the last 3 games of the season. I think the Steelers, the story of this offseason and the story of this coming season is how can they get started faster, and how can they prove that they deserve to still be considered among the NFL's elite franchises when they don't really have much of an elite record to point to recently. You know, just having a season that's above 500 is not elite, and it's not going to do it in an AFC where Patrick Mahomes the Chiefs can, you know, trade away, cut, whatever, all of his receivers, and the Chiefs are still winning the Super Bowl. You know, the Steelers don't have that luxury of trying to figure things out and hoping they'll come together and just staying above 500, because that's how you end up in purgatory with picks that are, you know, anywhere from 19 to, you know, 23 in that range where, yeah, you're going to get a really good player, but you're not going to get maybe the type of difference maker that you'd get with the top 10 pick. And if you're picking 31, 32, that obviously things have gone really well for you in the postseason. So I think that this is a team that has to break out of that cycle one way or another.
You mentioned the Arthur Smith hire. He was prickly, certainly at times, as the head coach in Atlanta.
Yes.
What do you make of that fit? It seemed to me to kind of go against type a little bit in terms of who they typically try to hire. Mike's such a huge personality and force of nature. How do you sense that all goes together?
You know, to me, the Arthur Smith hire is all about Kenny Pickett, and it's all about the run game. I was just looking back at the Titans' stats in Arthur Smith's last year as offensive coordinator. I believe that was the only year that Derrick Henry earned an All-Pro nod. Obviously, he's been a Pro Bowl player. He's an incredibly talented running back, one of the best to do it. But he really came into his own under Arthur Smith, and I think that they had a very complementary offense with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, and I think that that's the type of offense that the Steelers want. They see that they have players that could maybe not replicate Derrick Henry. Nobody is going to be Derrick Henry, but I think Najee Harris has a similar run style. He just needs to get started earlier, And I think that also having Jalen Warren as like a complementary style back should also help that run game. And I think that they're trying to do things that maybe take some of the pressure off of Kenny Pickett, make it so that, they're making throws easier for him, doing things that just, it felt like last year, not only was the offense too simple, but it was too hard. It was putting him in these positions where they weren't allowing him to throw to the middle of the field. There wasn't a lot of play action. There wasn't a lot of RPO. It was incredibly frustrating to watch. And so I think that this is about putting him in a position to succeed and trying to really evaluate the status of the quarterbacks. Also why they brought in Tom Arth as a quarterbacks coach. They keep Mike Sullivan on staff. But to me, all of these hires suggest that they're pouring resources into proving that they were right in drafting Kenny Pickett, which at this point I think the jury's still out on.
It most certainly is. Talking with Brooke Pryor, ESPN NFL Nation reporter covering the Steelers. Brooke, kind of in everything, just listening to what you were saying there, it feels like their way to make Kenny Pickett a success is to minimize him. Mm-hmm. And it feels like it's hard in this AFC, the way that it's constructed, to win minimizing your quarterback to actually go on a run. You know what I mean? Just with the quarterback gauntlet you're going to have to face in the playoffs. Is that fair?
Yeah,
or not?
But at the same time, I think that it's minimizing, but it's also, I mean, like we were saying at the beginning of this hit, that if you just have a quarterback that's decent, you can make a run.
No doubt.
With the way the Steelers are constructed in terms of they have an incredibly talented defense. You keep the ball away from the other team's offense with a run game, and you just have a quarterback that minimizes mistakes and at least gets some drives together. I think the problem with the offense last year is that there were a lot of turnovers when Pickett was in there. He was getting sacked. He was just not making smart play. I think if you have a quarterback that, I know that we, really hate the term game manager and all of the things that come with it, but if you have a guy that I think can be a capable game manager, I think that Brock Purdy is a step above a game manager, but even if he was maybe, a step or two back, I still think that the 49ers have a very successful season. Maybe they still make it to the Super Bowl. I think if you can get a similar level of play in Pittsburgh, then they have more success than they've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of teams in the NFL are wrestling with, right? What is success? Is success
That's it.
Trying to be a playoff team and be a competent team, or is success trying to win the Super Bowl? Is that how you define success? And I think that's going to be interesting. I think it's a tough one. Just our division is so tough. The AFC is so tough, and obviously Mahomes is at this point. Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs are really kind of the gold standard. You mentioned the defense, which was excellent. If there were any questions maybe at all, Joey Porter Jr. really came on strong, but kind of on the back end or the cornerback room, how do you feel about that room going into it? I know Levi Wallace is a free agent. Do you think they maybe go there early in the draft again after the success with Joey Porter Jr.?
Yeah, I actually just wrote that I think that the two positions that have to be the Steelers' number one priority in free agency are a starting capable cornerback and a starting capable inside linebacker. They did a lot of great work at inside linebacker last year, and then all those guys got hurt except Elandon Roberts, who I think could survive a nuclear fallout because he is just so determined and so resilient. But Cole Holcomb is coming off a really severe knee injury that the timeline for his return is kind of unclear. Quan Alexander tore his Achilles. He's a free agent. I know that they are interested in him, but again, that's a lengthy recovery process. And then when you look at cornerback, a year ago they did bring in Patrick Peterson, but to me, he is more valuable to this team as a versatile defensive back. Putting him at slot, sometimes moving him to safety. Just kind of being that Swiss Army knife, but he doesn't have the same speed that he used to be, I think, an every down corner. So this is a really deep cornerback class. I kind of look at a guy maybe like Dane Jackson, just in terms of the way that the Steelers approach free agency. They are very conservative. They're not going to spend a ton of money. Dane Jackson makes sense as a guy that is from the Pittsburgh area, played at Pitt, has been a solid contributor in Buffalo, and maybe they think he can elevate kind of what they thought in Levi Wallace, and that didn't pan out. But I think that, maybe you don't give Dane Jackson a huge deal, but he's someone that you take a chance on, knowing that you have Patrick Peterson there if you need to put him back in there, or maybe you draft another corner. And they drafted a corner last year in the 7th round who was injured. Corey Trice Jr. was injured in training camp. and he looked pretty good before he got hurt. He has a very similar build to Joey Porter Jr. I think he's someone that we shouldn't forget about as they are, building out the rest of the team in this offseason.
All right, Brooke, we'll get you out of here on a fun one, and I know it's a ways off, but do you expect Steelers fans to have more muted reactions to whatever transpires in the preseason this year?
I think Steelers fans are going to be a little gun shy. I know I am not going to be making any Super Bowl predictions in August.
Yeah.
Because, it turns out the preseason is the preseason for a reason. It's a wild concept, but it turns out preseason doesn't actually matter, and it's all fool's gold, and we should not get excited about anything that happens because it can all disappear in week one.
I feel okay making such a joke because I was here in 2017 when the Browns went 4-0 in the preseason.
That's right.
And then failed to win a game in the regular season.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I understand. Don't buy into that preseason hype.
Brooke,
Exactly. Just enjoy it while it lasts.
Exactly.
But don't hold on to it for too long.
Exactly.
Always great talking to you, Brooke.
Yes,
thank
thank
you
you
so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, coming up next, we'll take a look at the Steelers free agency preview. We have the CBD whip coming up as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner. Your Cleveland Browns now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Nick just asked me if I was ready. I would say, are you ready?
Oh, baby.
Billy Joel,
Nah.
Rod Stewart.
Can't be.
It's happening. They're together.
What?
It's the first time ever. It's on.
Yeah.
It's on Friday, September 13th.
So
it
like when
may
the
be
Mega
the only
Powers
time
came in.
ever. And if you're asking
That's what they're
yourself,
saying.
where would this be? Madison Square Garden, O Arena
Feels that way.
in London,
Feels like the only possible solution.
the Santiago Bernabéu. No,
The Estadio Olimpico?
Estadio Olimpico. No, Emirates Arena. No,
No.
Allianz Arena.
No.
No, only here, Cleveland Browns Stadium.
Cleveland Browns Stadium. That's it.
How can you get tickets? You can buy them right now. You go to clevelandbrownsstadium.com/Billy and Rod.
Billy and Rod 2024 2024. Billy and Rod 2024.
It's Billy Joel and Rod Stewart. It's one night only.
That's it.
Got to get out there and live, kids. Here is your. It's. Let me ask you. Let me throw something at you.
Please throw away.
I was illuminating like the trouble the Ravens are in yesterday.
Yeah.
It is equally illuminating that Pittsburgh is apparently so stubborn that they're just going to stay with what they are at quarterback. Okay. I've gotten this from anybody I talk to over there. That this is it. They
It's
want Pickett,
wild.
and they're going to roll with it. God bless them. I wish you the best of
Yes.
luck, kids. Is this division taking a step back? We'll do Cincinnati tomorrow.
You've got
They're still a healthy Burrow, but he's played 4 seasons, only been healthy twice.
the Ravens are still going to be good. Lamar's
It's still a
regular
great
season.
division.
Yes.
But Baltimore's got major roster issues.
Right now.
Pittsburgh is locked into this quarterback.
But they're scary and know how to win.
They do.
But
they're not a Super Bowl team.
But there isn't a Carolina in the division.
There
isn't a team where you're
no.
like,
I'm just
this
saying,
is a
like
layup.
last year, it felt like before Deshaun got hurt, assuming that he was going to play the way he played in the Ravens game for the season, it felt like there were 3 teams in the division who I could say I wouldn't be surprised if they won the Super Bowl, including us. And now
You still had 3 teams make the playoffs, right?
You did.
Am I remembering correctly?
But what I'm saying is next year these are huge changes that are happening here.
Yes.
Cincinnati is going to be fundamentally different next year than they were this year, and they're coming off another catastrophic injury for Burrow, now 2 in 4 seasons. I don't know if they'll have Higgins or not. We'll find out tomorrow where the feeling is on that. They tagged him, but is it to tag to trade? Who knows?
Right.
Pittsburgh's going to stick with this quarterback. Baltimore's got major – they're still going to be very, very good, but they're going to look different.
Especially defensively.
Yes, they're not going to be as good defensively.
No.
It'd be stunning. Plus new coordinators, all that stuff.
Yep.
So as we're going through this stuff, when you listen to Brooke and you hear like how locked in they are to Pickett and Rudolph, and you listen to our guests yesterday talk about the Ravens and like they have real problems.
It does feel like the division is as wide open can be.
But I don't know that I know it's crazy, it's sacrilegious to like say that these people aren't serious people, but they don't feel like serious people to me. I know they're still Pittsburgh. I get it. I understand it. They win every year. They go 9-8 every year.
That was the point that I was
but they're
saying.
not Super Bowl every year. They're not that anymore.
If you're trying, and I think the way I said it was very fair and was accurate.
I knew exactly what you were meaning, and I think she did too.
If you're trying to minimize your quarterback, that means that you're not serious.
Yeah, you're not serious.
And Arthur Smith has never been able to necessarily elevate the quarterback that he's with.
No.
And Najee Harris is a fine player. He's not Derrick Henry.
No.
I mean, that offense worked at its peak when it had Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown.
Yes.
Who were, at the time, both.
He was the best running back in football, and A.J. Brown was a top 5-6.
Yeah.
5-6 receiver. Yeah. So they're not going to have that. Pickens is really good, but he's got a lot going on.
It'll be interesting because it's going to be this kind of an offense can feed one guy, but will Deontay Johnson be happy? Will Freiermuth be happy? Now you can't get the ball to tight end in this offense. He's going to want to, I just feel like you get Bijan and Algier. For people who watched the Falcons a lot last year, you didn't see an offense that you're like, man, this is what I want to have happen in my place.
No.
He's going to run the 2 tight ends. They're going to play Washington and Freiermuth a ton.
That's why I asked her, how does this mesh with him? And she said this is all about Kenny Pickett, but he wasn't all about the quarterback.
No, not at all.
He's not about quarterback development.
Well, nobody's developing.
If anything, it's about minimizing the quarterback's issues. So, and we heard that from Brooke when she was talking about it. Like, if you have a quarterback who doesn't make mistakes, well, yeah, that's a path to 9-8. That's what that's a path to. Look, a lot of people talking right now about how this Broncos trade for Russ Wilson's one of the worst trades in NFL history, and maybe it turns out that it is. But you understand why they made it.
Of course, because
they made it to get a franchise quarterback.
You're trying to win, and that's a prerequisite to being able to win.
If you don't have one,
and no offense to what Brooke was saying, but Brock Purdy, I think, has proven himself to be on a completely different plane than Kenny Pickett.
Not only is that true, it is also true that he is playing for probably the most gifted play caller. Him and Andy Reid, it's a short list of most gifted play callers we've seen in the sport. And they have the most weaponry in the sport.
Agreed.
So all of those factors
are
not applying over there.
Took him out and put Pickett in there.
But if Purdy is in Pittsburgh, he's good.
Good, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like those two are not the
and
same.
Pickett would not be what Purdy was there.
Sam Darnold might be playing.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
Yeah.
So their free agent list isn't huge. Okafor, Levi Wallace, Mason Rudolph, Montravius Adams. The Rudolph thing's crazy. Now all of a sudden they think Rudolph can play. They've convinced him he can play. They've had
been
him
there
for all
forever.
these years.
Forever.
And you've tried to replace him with Trubisky and Pickett and anybody, and now he's
well. The thing that's so interesting to me
valedictorian of summer school now.
Am I misremembering this? And I ask you, and if you don't have it, I'll ask you. No. I don't think I am. At the end of the year, wasn't Mason Rudolph their quarterback, even though Kenny Pickett was back healthy?
They benched him. They benched him, and they went with Rudolph. They were going with Rudolph. Rudolph was the best quarterback play they had all year was with Mason Rudolph.
Well, Rudolph was, in the regular season, 3-0, completed 74% of his passes, 719 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, still only 179 yards a game, but had a rating of 118, and then you get to the playoffs, and it's 56%, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a rating of 80. I don't know. They've had Mason Rudolph. He was drafted by them in the 3rd round of 2018. He started 13 games in his career. He somehow was 8-4-1 in those games, which I believe include 2 losses to the Cleveland Browns. He lost to the Browns in 2019. That was the Thursday night game, 21-7. He beat the Browns 38-7. Week 6 of 2020. That was when Bake threw the pick 6 to Minka to open the game, and they just boat raced us. I didn't realize. Oh, he didn't start that game. He got it at the end, threw 1 pass for 6 yards, so he didn't start that one. So he started really 8 games in 2019. He started 5 games since. Yeah, 2 of them against Cleveland, and both of them losses.
Yeah. It's strange. They pick well, they draft well, they do all of those things. They're excellent at that.
Yes.
So
they can reload.
They will reload, and of course you take them as seriously as you can because they've earned all of that, and all they do is win. They just like when she said they haven't won a playoff game since what, like 17? Is that what she said? They won a playoff game since 17.
I believe. Hold on, I can tell you right now.
Been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a very, very long time since they've won a playoff game. Let's see if they have the team franchise encyclopedia. I might have it on here. Yeah, it's been. Is this it? Here we go. Yep, the last time they won a playoff game was 2017. That's a long time, man. May have been 2016. 2016, they lost in the conference championship game. 2017, they lost in the divisional round, but they may have had a bye.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's been a minute. So
we've won multiple. We've won. Yeah, not multiple. We won 1. We won a playoff game since them. Yeah, against them.
You were one of the people who saw him do it.
I was there.
All right, we'll whip it. Coming up next, you'll see Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Now be sure to check out the Browns social media channel daily to play the Browns digital scratch-off game for your chance to win club seats and other great prizes presented by the Ohio Lottery, the official lottery of your Cleveland Browns. Time for the CBD Whip. Hello, Uno.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Real well.
Uno, we're great.
We're doing real well. Look at it out there. What is that? Is that just downpour?
It's a
misty fog.
Yeah, it's
gross.
I think it's raining. I think it's a light rain.
Nice.
It was very misty, foggy last night too.
Oh, baby. Boy, was it.
Yeah.
Awful.
I was
Went
doing
out
a
to
lot
a friend's
of
house.
driving
It was
around.
Not a good drive.
Yeah, that drive I had yesterday on the turnpike back east side, eastbound and down, brutal. Yeah, when the hail started popping in there, that was
No
really
damage.
exciting.
I didn't see any damage.
I didn't see any. I guess I didn't look. Well, there wasn't because I was in hail when I pulled in here yesterday.
Yeah.
And that didn't cause any damage, so I don't. It
No,
felt
no,
like
no,
a
no.
consistent hail.
Yeah.
What do you have for us, Uno?
First question: we saw him get tagged yesterday, but the Chiefs look like they want to trade L'Jarius Sneed. What team do you think is a good fit for the Chiefs to trade him to that might need a corner?
Well, who's got cap space?
Why do
right?
they want to trade L'Jarius Sneed? Is the question I would have. Allow me to answer your question with a question of my own. Why don't you want to keep? I mean, L'Jarius Sneed was a big part of what they did. Teams with the most cap space right now. This is from overthecap.com.
Like Houston's got a lot.
Commanders, Patriots,
Commies.
Titans, Texans, Cardinals, Bears, Lions, Bengals.
I could see Houston kind of going all in now that they've got CJ on a rookie deal. Like, I could see them doing a little Niners here. Like, let's go all in and spend.
How about the Eagles?
That's absolutely something they would do.
Yes.
Do they have room?
37.8.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally an Eagles move. That's got how
The teams that are way under the cap right now: Bills $45 million, Chargers $29 million, Dolphins $28 million, Saints $21 million, Broncos $20, Cowboys $14, Ravens $13, Niners $3. Chiefs have $719,000 of space, which is probably why this is happening.
I think it's a cap space thing. It's like him or Chris Jones.
You can't have
both.
both.
Can't have them both. I think. I mean, you could see the Patriots going for him, but what are they? I don't know what they're trying to be.
To me, I look at I don't know all of these rosters well enough to know.
I can see the Bears.
I was just say Bears, like Houston
Put him with Jalen Johnson,
or Houston with Stingley.
Yep, and then you just get locked down.
Now you have lockdown corners.
Colts have a lot of money.
Yeah,
Colts were one of the teams I was seeing when I was looking it up.
Yeah,
Rams.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next one. With a weak running back draft class, does drafting a running back make more sense or still signing one that's a veteran in this free agency class?
It's not a great running back draft.
Yeah.
I think you could get like a pretty good player at next to nothing.
That's the thing. There's going to be a glut.
Too many.
Too many for not enough spots. If you can get, I think you can get a good player around the minimum, and that's really what you're looking for. I think the Browns are going to be looking a lot around the league minimum for those positions. Now, if you get a guy like DeAndre Swift, I don't see how you could get him cheap. I wanted him last year. By the way, that would have worked out very well.
Would have worked out quite well.
But our running backs did fine. I think that's the other thing, too, is
one thing that I think is like you and I say this all the time, like, yes, the running backs are fine. We need weapons. We need something that scares people.
Yes.
DeAndre Swift scares you as a defense. Like, you hit him in a flat, make a guy miss, and it's good night, Irene. So that's that's the thing I'm looking. Give me weapons. We need more weapons. Look at Uncle Teddy.
Ted.
Doing the God's work over there.
Yeah, he is.
He's over there working. Go ahead. Uno.
Fact or fiction, Russell Wilson won't find an uncontested starting job this season.
Fiction.
I think that's fiction. I think he will get a job. I think he'll be uncontested somewhere.
Is it so Tampa Bay, like Atlanta feels like Cousins.
Minnesota.
Yeah, so if Cousins goes, like he could go to Minnie.
Is he at the point where he's still, you trust him as your day one no matter what?
Yeah, he was pretty good last year. 67%, 26-8.
Yeah.
3,200 yards. He's a little check down Charlie, but like he's better than a lot of what's happening in the league.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like he's better than Baker was last year. No, everyone's talking like Baker's get $50 million a year and like Russ can't play.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what happens with Bake. That's going to be. I think that's a very interesting one, because the biggest mistake a team can make is putting them in themselves in a situation like the Giants just did with Daniel Jones.
Yes,
where you pay them a ton of money and you just are not necessarily getting that return on that investment. And
right.
that's a tough thing to deal with.
You have to, in this league, when it comes to, and the Bears, that's why this will be an easy decision for the Bears to go Caleb Williams. It's a little tougher than the Daniel Jones thing because Fields has flashed elite traits, but you haven't seen enough of it.
Right.
Not enough to where you want to pay him $50 million a year. So have that be somebody else's problem.
Yep.
And now you get a guy who's the consensus number one guy who you can develop, and now you reset your clock.
Yep.
So you can't pay the Dan Dimes guys anymore.
You shouldn't.
I don't know that you will. I think you'll see teams saying, you know what, no. He's not that. We'll get back into it and try to find it another way. Because as long as Mahomes is in Kansas City, you're going to need elite quarterback play to beat him. And he ain't going anywhere. So for the next decade plus, you better have an elite quarterback.
Danny Dimes, if they were to cut him post June 1st, it would be a $47 million dead cap hit this year. I mean, they really don't have much of an out. If they can get out after this year. After this year, they could save, post June 1st cut, they'd save $30 million and still owe him. They'd have $11 million of dead cap for 25 and 26.
Go ahead, Uno.
Speaking of Daniel Jones, fact or fiction, Daniel Jones will not be the starting quarterback for the Giants by the end of next season.
I like how you had the end of next season. That's a good job out of you.
It is good, Uno. I think he's going to get every opportunity to be the guy, but I think it feels like, based on history and what we've seen from him, that it's likely that won't go well, and thus by the end of the year he would be out, and you could make the case that he would be out of New York after that.
Yeah, I concur. I concur, Doctor.
Are they a rookie quarterback sleeper team in the draft?
No.
Like a JJ or somebody to sit.
In the first round?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Because I saw that somewhere, that you'd take like a JJ McCarthy and just sit him behind Daniel Jones and let him grow. And then if Dan doesn't work out,
that has to be a nurturing. That's like a Madden trade, though. Like, it has to be a nurturing situation. Like, Daniel Jones is not going to try to make JJ McCarthy better.
No.
They're going to try to help him. Like, you need Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco for that. We said that we had that with Hoyer.
That's also
with Brian. Like, Brian's playing for his career. He's not going to.
That's also a big asset to put at something.
Yes.
That's basically saying we're punting on this season. I'd be shocked though. That would be a shocking one.
The final one, we go back to the Browns. What's the biggest storyline that you're watching for the Browns as we near the start of free agency?
Well, this is for you. Let's put this on a tee for you, my friend.
Go ahead. So I think the biggest storyline to watch is
ball's just floating there.
Yeah,
just
right
waiting.
there it goes. The biggest storyline for the watch for the Browns is really, okay, how do you maneuver with the cap? What restructures come? And then the addition of weapons on offense, or weapon on offense, and the shoring up of the interior of the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the biggest things. I think linebacker, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of big issues, is there a weapon out there that we can get? And then, is there a guy? Are we okay rolling with Alex Wright and Obo Okoronkwo, and then maybe like a guy that won't get a huge deal but is talented, like a Derek Barnett or a Yetur Gross-Matos, who was with Carolina, Penn State kid, was a second-round pick, but wouldn't be huge on the salary cap. Would you be willing to go with that at defensive end and then make a splash, try to go get a Christian Wilkins?
Yes.
And all of a sudden have Miles, Christian Wilkins, Dalvin, and
away we go.
Alex Wright or Obo, or one of those young guys.
Here's the thing that ought to let you sleep well at night as a Browns fan. This front office has proven to be incredibly nimble and aggressive.
Yeah.
So if other teams are vulnerable, they will be ready to pounce.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Very
happened
ready.
time and time again.
More than
so
ready.
if there is a situation where it's, we can't get this deal done, we can't lose him for nothing, we're on it.
They're
Already
anticipating
Darius.
your vulnerability that you don't even know you have.
That's right. Yeah. So that's why this could be a fun next couple of weeks. for sure. So much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. What do you think? Go play? Should we go play?
No.
Let's hope Gibby's playing down there.
I hope he is. I hope he's living.
We haven't even heard his best life. I haven't heard anything from him. I don't
nothing.
want to.
I don't want to.
I just want him to be down there.
Just go live.
Thriving in his world.
Yeah. By the way, we should play this back for him next time that you and I are doing something. Well, actually, he never says anything bad about you when you're doing something. But if I'm doing something.
Yeah, see, they know.
It's called the truth laugh that you heard. The truth laugh right there from Una.
Yeah.
But he should know. I'm
we
celebrating
root for
his
his joy.
Somebody should be in the sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
30-30.
Get out there and live a little bit, Gibby.
Go, Gibby, go.
That's it. The next level's coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.